think that'll be okay.
Yeah, that should be good.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll.
I'm good.
I mean, you can move your head back and forth, but it'll pick up if you're. I kind of talk like this when my
Okay.
head moves around. I kind
All
of
right.
keep focused. I keep my mouth right on the microphone.
There. Okay.
If I just look over and you're just doing this, that was funny. That'll
That'll probably be the intro to the video, by the way.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Oh. I had one right.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna mess up my hair.
Not at all.
That's okay.
Actually, it looks perfect.
Okay, sure.
It does.
Is that okay? Do you need them a little bit smaller?
No.
It's good? Okay.
How's my hair look?
It looks
Perfect.
good. You're way stressing over nothing. It looks great.
Okay.
I like that.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode 72 today. And we're excited. We've got guest with us, Senator, District 23 Senator, and gubernatorial candidate, Barb Kirkmeyer. Made the trip out to be with us. We're excited to have a conversation with you today. Hopefully, the drive wasn't too bad for you.
Drive was great.
Awesome. We're excited to have a conversation with you today. And we know that you've had a busy day today, so thank you for making the time to come out and be with us. I understand that you had nonstop, all day, nothing but brain power and having to balance budgets and stuff like that.
Well, we're working on it.
Working on it.
Yeah, we're pulling people along with us.
Awesome. Awesome. Micah, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing great. It's been an exceptional day. I've had good meetings all day, and I've been looking forward to sitting down with you. Sheriff Steve Reams speaks very, very highly of you.
Oh,
Yes, he does. We
That's
had him
excellent.
out, and we have him to thank for making the connection and getting you out here. We're excited for the conversation. So we're going to talk a lot about the gubernatorial race. That's going to be a really central topic, as I think it rightfully should be. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about your background. We're going to talk about why you entered into the race, and we want to get into that. But first, we have a segment on our show called the Daily Scroll, and I should have already popped it onto the screen, but I haven't done that yet. Let me do that. And then I'm just going to pull up X. We're going to go through a couple of different articles that I've saved. For today, we're keeping it really relevant to Colorado. So we had someone who's also in the gubernatorial race. A couple episodes ago, we had Scott Bottoms on.
Yep.
And we played this exact same video, talked about this exact same article, and I thought it was fitting to just go ahead and pull that up while you're with us, because it just so happens that you're in this video. So I wanted to just start right out the gate.
cameo.
We're gonna start the conversation. We're gonna hit it hard. So I'm gonna pull the video up here on the screen.
Pedophilia runs through our
So it's right over here,
our
Barb?
Senate, and our governor's office.
Republican State Rep Scott Bottoms made that claim without offering evidence
We know who the people are.
as he campaigned for governor last weekend.
I've been working with the FBI for 3 years now. FBI outside the state of Colorado, because I do not trust CBI, state police, or FBI in the state of Colorado.
Bottoms wouldn't agree to answer questions and repeated requests for a scheduled interview.
Unscheduled interview time.
So we showed up at the state capitol.
Representative Bottoms, how are you? Kyle Clark, 9 News. You are alleging that there are pedophiles buying and selling children for sex, elected officials in this building who are pedophiles.
Yes.
And you have said that you will reveal this information if Colorado elects you governor. If you're trying to
never
protect
said
kids,
that.
you actually did. We'll play it here.
We are going to drop the boom the moment that I'm governor. We've actually been talking about maybe doing it before, but the moment I'm governor, we're going to shut down the pedophile rings that are in the House, in the Senate, and in the governor's office.
If you're serious about protecting children, why not present that evidence right now to local law enforcement that is ready and willing to take your allegations and investigate them?
There's a major difference between awareness and justice. Justice is not what you do. Justice is what I do. FBI knows about it. FBI will bring it out when it's time. I'm not the one that's going to bring this out. I'm not a federal prosecutor. I'm not a federal law enforcement. And I never said I would do it when I'm governor. Show your fake video.
When I become governor, because I know this information, I'm going to work very strongly with the FBI, and we're going to put people in jail.
What if there's no evidence? What if you just made this whole thing up?
Yes, I made the whole thing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, because you're full of crap.
I believe that we have a politician who is recklessly endangering others by making false allegations and accusations that are unfounded, simply to garner attention.
Democratic House Speaker Julie McCluskey says Bottoms' allegations could lead to violence against people at the Capitol.
It puts all of us in danger.
Republican Senator and gubernatorial candidate Barb Kirkmeyer agrees.
I think one of two things. He's either made it up, or two, he's been sitting on his hands for over 3 years while little kids are maybe getting trafficked or raped. That's just disgusting to me.
Have you met anybody in this building who believes that his allegation is credible?
No,
Republicans, Democrats, staff?
No.
Do you think he made it up?
I do. I do. I think he's desperate right now, and he's made it up.
Powerful.
So,
We should
wanted to just go ahead and open it up with that because this is definitely capturing, rightfully so, a lot of attention right now with everything going on in the country with the Epstein list and all of the stuff going from the top down. We just are incredibly alarmed with the allegation that there is this kind of conduct in the House, in the Senate, in the governor's office. Coming from somebody like Scott Bottoms, that's given, I mean, you heard the video, you heard the people that's at his event or rally, whatever this is, cheering and clapping.
Absolutely.
So he's got some people believing that this is true. I haven't seen the evidence. We had him on the podcast. He sat in the chair that you're sitting in right now, and he explained some of this stuff the best that he could and just explained that he has some substantial evidence. He said that his concerns were he doesn't want to turn it over to any of the Colorado Bureau of Investigation or any of the FBI that is in Colorado for fear of there being some malintent, there being some manipulation, there being some corruption, even in those departments here in Colorado. Obviously, you've already been questioned and interviewed on this by Kyle Clark and his team, and we just wanted to open it up since you already were somewhat of a cameo on one of our other videos, so we figured we'd just go ahead and start there for today.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts here on this, really? If you were to have to speak into it a little bit more than just what you spoke in the interview, what do you really think is going on here?
I'm not sure why Representative Bottoms brought this forward, but I'm alarmed myself. And as I said in the video, in the interview with Mr. Clark, I just said, look, I believe he's making it up. But if he's not making it up, the other side of that is also very bad. That he's been sitting on his hands for 3 years. He said in his remarks, 3 years. And I've heard him, and I know he's basically called me stupid and said some other things with regard to me in some of his other follow-up interviews, whether it's on the radio or wherever he's been. But I'm not stupid. He's a mandatory reporter. He has an ethical, legal, and moral obligation that if he knows of a pedophile ring anywhere, but in this case, he said in the Capitol, in the House, and in the Senate, and he knows who they are, and in the governor's office, he has a responsibility to report that and to have it be investigated. If he doesn't want to trust CBI or he doesn't want to trust FBI, I mean, okay, first of all, I'm not in law enforcement, but I'm thinking that if you contact FBI in Kansas or Wyoming or wherever he contacted them at, that they're going to talk to the FBI in Colorado. I mean, law enforcement talks with each other. I do know that. But he lives in a county where his district attorney is Republican. He could have gone to his own district attorney and said, I know of this. I've got evidence. He says several times that he knows who it is. He has names. And then for him to say that he is going to wait a year before he brings anything out. When I'm governor, that'll be a year from now. Then I'm going to tell everybody, and we're going to lower the boom, or whatever he said. Those aren't his words; those are mine. But you know what I'm saying?
No, he said we're going to drop the boom. And
He said
we've been thinking about doing it before. But he did say we're going to drop the boom the moment I'm in the governor's office. That's what I think that's a pretty direct quote. Just so you know, on our show, he didn't call you stupid. If he would have, we would have had a problem. Would have said, okay, let's hold our horses.
That I'm stupid, and he could connect the dots for me. Well, I'll connect the dots for him. He's a mandatory reporter. He's a state representative, and he has an ethical obligation that if he knows of another state legislator who is degrading the office in this way, in any way, but if they're degrading the office, he has a responsibility to turn that into leadership, and they need to do an investigation. If he thinks someone is breaking the law and not upholding the honor of the office that we're all serving in, and whether it's a state representative or a state senator, he needs to turn that in.
Right.
And he didn't do that either. But to me, the most appalling part is 3 years. Seriously, you've known about it for 3 years and you've done nothing. You've done nothing. You've been hiding it. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I don't. And then for him to say he's going to wait yet another year after that, once I'm governor,
Yeah.
I do think that's disgusting.
What is the advantage in your mind of that tactic? So I sit back and I listen to it. So I'm a retired peace officer. I kicked a lot of doors in SWAT. I was fugitive. I was undercover. I worked the road for a while. I was in command. I've run the gamut. I love nothing more in my life than taking down a pedophile. I think out of anybody I've ever arrested, and I've had my share of homicide suspects, burglars, even rapists, and they're going to be a close second, but pedophiles, that's a special kind of evil. And so I click those bracelets on those wrists and I take those guys down and they get booked in. I know that there's a child being protected right there. What's the tactic behind that in your mind? And I'm asking you to speculate. I know you don't know, but I can't make sense of that when I hear that statement.
I can't make sense of that either, but it is almost like it's a campaign type, I don't know. He's just exploiting it. I don't know really what to tell you because I would not do it. I served as a Weld County Commissioner for 20 years. We oversee the Human Services Department. So I'm not saying I've done what you have done. Thank you so much for taking care of kids and taking care of individuals and going out and having our backs on a day-to-day basis. But I have seen the stories about neglect and abuse in our child welfare system.
Sure.
And for anybody to let that go on one day more than it needs to or that it should be is, again, disgusting to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his motive is other than he thinks it's a campaign. He was at a campaign kind of town hall meeting, and I guess he just thought, maybe this is just something I can just throw out there. I don't know. I mean, I know in his I don't know Representative Bottoms that well. We're in different chambers, so I don't see him on a day-to-day basis. But I've seen the legislation that he introduces, and he attacks, in his legislation, these are the things he goes after, is this pedophile stuff and the transgender things. And he goes after that stuff. And so maybe he just, I don't know. I honestly do not know. I can't explain it. I can't explain why you would make something like that up. I can't explain that if you aren't making it up, why you wouldn't be doing something about it immediately. Not only because you're a legislator, but because you're a pastor.
Yeah.
You're a pastor.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that one, man.
And a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I just don't.
So the question, I guess, then would be, I mean, we've had a few now gubernatorial candidates, and we've also had senators, we've had congressmen, we've had House representatives, and there's pretty much unanimously across everybody so far, at least, that we've had, people think that there's definitely a level of fraud, waste, for at least waste, if not fraud, going on in the state of Colorado. I'm interested to know because these are bold accusations that definitely require evidence, and this one potentially could be a little bit harder to prove than being able to just track numbers, maybe grants or different programs that are being exploited or used in ways that they shouldn't as far as state money goes. So I'm curious, you're on the budget committee.
The Joint Budget Committee,
The Joint Budget Committee. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on that, just what you think about the way that Colorado's managed, how our finances are managed. Do you think that there's a level of waste, potentially fraud? Do you think that there is a lot of work that could be done to make Colorado's budget be better managed or cut down on waste or cut down on fraud? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. And before we get on to that, let me just go back to one more thing that was said in that video.
Okay, please.
And I'm sorry, I just thought of it while you were talking about
please,
it.
Please.
It was Speaker McCluskey who talked about harm could come to people. It's true.
Yeah.
We all as legislators, even when I was a county commissioner, have threats against us as elected officials. And, we were talking about this a little bit earlier where, I've even working to now get a temporary restraining order against an individual who was doxing me and threatening me on X, on a social media platform, right? So the other day when I am coming across the 14th Street and getting ready to walk into the Capitol. I was standing on the corner talking to a couple of lobbyists about some legislation. I had an individual who pulled over, because it's a one-way, pulled all the way over to the curb, yelled out, and started telling me about an issue that he just had at Auraria campus with, he's Jewish, and they told him he had to leave and all this stuff. Well, there's not a lot I can do about that. But then he proceeded to say, and he goes, and are you in that building? Do you work in that building where they have all those pedophiles? Wow. Now I got people yelling at me from the street, right? And, they didn't know if I was a state senator or not, but it's just that kind of stuff where, again, very, very irresponsible. Now we've got people thinking, oh, there are pedophile rings in the Capitol, and it must be you, or it must be somebody else, kind of thing. So I just think he didn't think that all the way through, and he could cause harm to individuals that work at the Capitol for no good reason. So just wanted to mention that as well, because
I'm glad
Speaker
that you did.
McCluskey was right in bringing that up, and I don't think she's going to let it go. I think she will continue down a path on this.
If you make an accusation like that,
exactly,
you really better have something to substantiate that. And whenever Scott was in here, he had a bunch of claims, and we did ask him. I mean, we said, if you've got this, please bring something to us. We'll try to get it in the hands of. We'll do what we can with it. We'll get it in the hands of independent journalists on anything. I don't think that we've received anything.
I've not. You make an interesting point, Barb. It can invoke a reaction, and we see this in the nation all the time. I mean, all you got to do is come out and say the color green, and somebody else is going to say purple. And then if you don't agree with green or purple, then you're in a fight. I look at this and I say, so I operate in life, just for point of reference, off of what I call a 98-1-1 rule. 98% of the time, I think I'm right. I do, even though I'm just making up a number. But the 98-1-1 is, if I think that I'm right, I always give a 1% out to I could be wrong, or a 1% out to stuff happens. But if I believe in the thing, I should be able to validate it, quantify it, substantiate it, right? So I say jokingly 98% of the time I'm right, because my wife will smack me in the back of the head. And,
she'll be like, it's 68.
Yeah, at best it might be 12. But in this case, if I believed that to be true, I would say, okay, there's a 1% out, I could be wrong. Maybe I've misunderstood something or whatever. But to come out and make that kind of claim is a big deal. Now, I do want to take this a step further, because I want to go with Jared's question as far as the budget, because there's a lot of things, the Nick Shirley stuff in Minnesota and everything's been uncovered with. And this is important, especially with the committee you sit on. But I do want to ask one question. Let's say he's right. And let's just forget about the 3-year past and the 1 year. I'm going to unveil it there. Let's just say he's right. What do we do? Because if we have an internal problem sitting down there at the Capitol, to where we've got people that are trafficking or accosting, pedophilia, whatever, or any version therein, sexually assaulting children, I mean, that would be a shutdown of the Colorado government tomorrow, I'm assuming, with both CBI, the FBI, and multiple agencies getting involved and doing a full court press stop, because your OPSEC is blown at that point in time. You have no operational security. You've got a legitimate problem in the House. If what Scott is saying is true, even if you get rid of the 3-year past and the 1-year future and just focus on it, let's say it's happening. What say you? What do you do with that?
I think we would have to go into an immediate recess. I think we would have to start looking about how do we shut down, like you're saying, until an investigation has happened, so that we know who's who and who's doing what, and that we are holding everybody accountable that should be held accountable.
Yeah.
But there needs to be that investigation. We need to let the process and the system work the way it's supposed to, and go have that investigation.
Okay.
We would make sure, I would think, I'm not in leadership, so I don't get to make all those decisions. But I would think that we would really look to make sure that we are holding people accountable. I will give you an example. We've had a couple of situations in the Senate where we had legislators who act unbecoming of a state senator. I mean, it's in our rules. And so I'm thinking they have the same similar rules in the House, or something very close to it. But it's in our rules. One of it had to do with a senator was found intoxicated, that type of thing. So it's unbecoming of a state senator. I mean, we have a decorum, whether you are in the Senate chambers or you're representing yourself as a senator anywhere in the state of Colorado, or anywhere, quite frankly. If you're acting in your capacity as a state senator, you have a certain decorum you have to answer to. We took that through an ethics commission. and examined it. And that individual lost their leadership positions. Things happened. We had another individual where it was said that she was basically having her staff do things that they shouldn't be doing, beyond the job sort of thing. And there was a complaint and several complaints about harassment and that type of stuff. We did another investigation. We set up a committee of her peers, in this case, other senators, go through and do an investigation. She ended up resigning before she got expelled, because we do have the authority to expel members from our chamber. And so she ended up resigning, and then she got taken to court and she lost.
So the bottom line is you're gonna investigate, you're gonna dig into it,
Absolutely.
and that's the reason I posed the question. And I definitely want to switch this now over to Jared's question.
But before we do that, let's do one more thing with this.
Okay.
With this, because we've shifted gears back to this, and I think this
Sorry.
is an important discussion.
It is.
Because I would like to know. We haven't just come out on the show and discredited Scott Bottoms or anybody for that reason. We don't know what we don't know. Could it be made up? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence of it. Could it be that he actually has a case and he is genuinely trying to just do the best that he knows how to do with it, even if he's not doing what other people would do? Again, I don't know what I don't know. But I can say that whenever I sat down, we had a conversation with Scott. He seemed like a decent guy. He seemed like an upright individual. He seemed like he was passionate about the state of Colorado, and he seemed like he truly wanted to serve Colorado. So I saw a good guy, and whenever I say if he would have called you stupid, we would have had a problem. The reason I say that is because our approach to having different candidates, different people on the show is not so that we can just point fingers at each other and just squawk at each other. We want to have a substantive conversation, and we want to make sure that we're not feeding into the discord that's already happening amongst the candidates. There's plenty of that going on, and we don't really want to use our show and our platform to add to division. We just want to use this to be able to give clarity to how different people are and how different approaches are okay. Different ideas and opinions are okay. So I would like to pivot this. And I think this is a good place to maybe end this discussion, is just asking, if you were right now put onto, whether you just went home and there was a package on your doorstep and it just had some information of a potential pedophile ring within whatever office, whether it's House, Senate, Governor, all of it, all the above. If you, Barb, were presented any of this information and you had the evidence, I would just like to know where you're at. And I get it, you're limited in your capacity, you're not in leadership, but I do think that Senate's a little bit above House, right? That's where Scott is.
Well, they're equal chambers.
Kind of equal? Okay.
Yeah.
Just separate? Okay. Well, what would you do if you had this information right now? What would be the first things that you would start to do?
I would contact my sheriff, Steve Reams, because I know him personally and I have his cell phone number. So I would contact him first, say, here's the information I have. I need you to come here and do your investigation, see what I have. I'd be trying not to touch anything, all that kind of stuff, and have him come start the process. I'm assuming at that point, the district attorney would probably get involved, or other folks as well. But again, we have law enforcement for a reason. The sheriff, who I do trust, and I do trust law enforcement, but that's who I would contact first. I'd have a direct line to him. Otherwise, I would probably call 911 if I didn't know the sheriff personally. But I do know the sheriff personally. I would call 911. But in my case, I'm calling the sheriff. And same thing I did when someone was trying to threaten me online. I call the sheriff. We can call the state patrol. There's a protection unit at the state patrol, but that's not really something that's within their jurisdiction. At least I don't think, since you said it was showing up at my house. But first thing I do is call the sheriff.
But the point is, you'd kick it into gear.
Absolutely.
You're not going to sit there and sit on it.
No.
Okay. All right.
No, not at all.
That answers my question.
Yeah, which I think is...
I mean, let's let the sheriff do his job. He'll send investigators and they'll
It
come
just
down.
seems disingenuous. The claim that Kyle Clark kept on going after is, why are you saying that you do this once you're governor? That's the only issue that I really see in all of this, is that he did say it a couple of times, and I think Scott's defense was, well, I'm just saying that because when I'm governor, I'll be able to continue to work with the FBI and I'll be able to out this and know that there's going to be able to be accountability and follow through. But at the same time, whenever you posture that way, it definitely looks like you're kind of holding this information hostage. and kind of saying, well, vote for me if you want this to come to light, kind of a
You know
thing,
what I'm not crazy about in this, though, in that statement? And we went past this. He actually said, and I've heard him say it twice now, I don't trust CBI. I don't trust Colorado FBI. So I'm not going to hand it off. If you're running for office, and this is just me, the last thing I'd be saying is an entire organization and entity is bad. I really struggle with that. I'm not saying that there can't be truth in the claim. And I don't care if well, I do care a little bit, but vote left or right. So let's just go back to the Biden presidency for a second. I didn't trust the Biden per se or some of the policy, but I'm sure there are people in his administration that are good people. But if you just blanket everything, and we tend to do that in this country, we just immediately, if you're not voting left or right, you're against the other. I just struggle when you, that's like saying every teacher is bad or every cop is bad.
Exactly.
I don't like that. I don't like those kind of all-inclusive statements.
And here's the thing. What happened that he doesn't trust them? Did he say they were part of the pedophile ring? Because I didn't hear that in his statement. So what has happened that he doesn't trust them? And one of his other statements were about, well, the only reason this is coming up is because I'm running for governor now, where people are coming after him. And I'm like, no, the only reason it's coming up is because you made a statement on a Saturday or a Sunday at a town hall type meeting, and you made this statement, and then you filmed it, taped it or whatever, and you put it out on social media platforms, and everybody saw it and went, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean there's a pedophile ring, and why aren't you telling us who it is, and why aren't you going after them, and why are you going to wait a whole nother year?
Well, and we've done that. I mean, Trump made that claim, quite frankly, in his acceptance speech when he won the presidency. Here's what we're going to do. And he went down this laundry list of stuff. And one of the very first things he said we're going to do is we're going to open up the Epstein file. Well, here we are in February of 26.
A year later.
And we're going, what the heck's going on? So I don't think that bodes well.
I don't think so either.
I'm not against Scott. I just didn't like the claim. I didn't like the assertion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can move on past it.
All right.
Let's shift gears.
Let's
Let's
get
talk
into your
about the
other question.
financial state of Colorado. You'll be able to probably speak more intelligently into that than anybody we've had on so far. So
Well, thank you.
let's talk about it.
Yeah. So our state is in a mess. I mean, we've had 7 years of one-party Democrat control. We do not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And they continue to overspend. And what has happened is they've known, they meaning the Democrats on the Joint Budget Committee, the Joint Budget Committee prior to me knew in March of 2021 that, I mean, it's in the documents. I went back and I was reading through documents. We do these forecast things. It was right in there that said we were in a structural deficit and heading to a worse structural deficit, which means we spend a heck of a lot more than we bring in. And you can't keep going down that path. I think we all understand how finances work, right? So,
No, I disagree. I don't think the government knows at all how finances work.
okay.
Because we're $38 trillion in debt, and I can tell you, if I ran my business the way they ran their business,
Exactly.
I'd be out of business. I'd probably in jail.
Well, when I was saying we all, I was.
Oh, the
speaking
three of us?
Yeah, we
Oh,
all get
we're
that.
probably
We-
masterminds
Yes,
behind it. You
I
give me
mean,
5 minutes with the budget, I'll correct it.
We're sitting there with our, our budgets at our own home, managing our own, finances, and we know what happens when you max out the credit cards. Eventually, you got to pay up, kind of thing. And so, what happened also during the COVID era is we received a lot of federal funds, and that is why our budget ballooned so much. I mean, like I'm talking a lot of federal funds that came into the state of Colorado. What we did with those funds is, not necessarily me, so we is the royal we.
What
if you will.
they.
Yes, what they did is they created programs that were supposed to be one-time funding, and then it got switched out to they were ongoing,
Wow.
right?
Like
So-
welfare?
No, those are entitlement programs, and those are federal programs that the state implements. But no, like we created, we put a lot of funds into the Behavioral Health Administration
Oh.
and started one-time programs and started new offices. We created a new department of early childhood. We created the Behavioral Health Administration. I don't know tonight off the top of my head how many new offices have been created since Polis has taken office. But I will say that over the course of the first 6-7 years of his administration, we hired over 7,000 new state employees, right? Now, granted, all of those were not in the executive branch. Some of those were in higher education. But think about it. Every year, another 600 to 700 new state employees in his administration. That's the kind of stuff we did. And we just kept spending. And then, here we are in the structural deficit. Federal funds dwindle down because COVID is over. Public health emergency has unwind. We're moving on. And they want to keep spending. And, excuse me, caught this really horrible cold about 3 weeks ago, and hopefully I'm at the end of it.
You
here.
and me both.
But anyways, so last year we had a $1.2 billion deficit in our general fund spending. So that part of the budget is about $18 to $19 billion. This year, we already know that we are going to have about an $850 million deficit as we start the 26-27 budget.
Wow.
So we have to find that, and we have to make cuts. Last year, we were trying to, again, I'm in the minority, so I do the best I can do, but we were trying to kind of like glide into how do we start making cuts. We did a lot of things like move cash funds, move interest around. I called it spaghetti budgeting because literally I said, God, they're just throwing everything in the pot and mixing it around, throwing it on the wall and see what sticks. And now everybody's picked up on that term at the Joint Budget Committee. So we didn't do as well a job as we should have done last year. The budget does get balanced, but it literally only needs to be balanced on one day out of the year, and that's the day that the governor signs it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The budget does have to be balanced according to the Constitution.
One day?
But it literally has to be balanced on the day that it is signed. Because what happens is, it's the same as with your own checking account. Bills come in, expenditures go out, things go up and down. So we have reserves, we have fund balances, but we have to balance it, within the budget and our line items through expenditures and those types of things. We do have to show that we are appropriating the right amount of funds and that we have the dollars in place to pay those bills. But,
All right.
it goes up and down.
So that we don't have to go into a math
Yes.
lesson
If I start getting too nerdy,
for the
you just need to cut
for
me
the
off.
Oh,
listeners.
no, you're okay.
Okay,
that one day thing kind of caught me there.
I'm needing floaties over here, so I just joke. This is where I'm wanting to bring it to surface level and I'm also wanting to bring the conversation to real easy, just straightforward.
Yes.
Micah mentioned Nick Shirley. Are you familiar with the name Nick Shirley? He's the gentleman who released the video on YouTube exposing the scale of the
yes.
Somali fraud
Yes.
in Minnesota. So are you familiar with what was going on there, the
Yes.
racket with the Somali daycares and the Somali healthcare centers? My simple question would be, you've just said, yes, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of programs that there were supposed to be one-time programs, but they're trying and they want to continue paying. They want to continue spending. My simple question would be, do you think that in the state of Colorado, there is anything that could potentially be similar to the situation in Minnesota with that fraud that was clearly blatantly fraud? Obviously, maybe it's not Somali daycares here in Colorado, but maybe it's some kind of other programs or something where it's money that came in, maybe federal money, maybe some state money, maybe both, maybe one or the other, and it was supposed to go to one thing, but it's clearly going somewhere else. Is there anything like that in Colorado? Do you suspect that there's anything like that in Colorado?
I don't know that I can say. I mean, do I think there could be fraud? Yes. Do I know exactly where that's at? No, because if I did, I would go check it out and we'd be taking care of it. Do I think there's a lot of waste? Do I think there are a lot of mistakes that are made? Absolutely. So, for example, in our department that does Medicaid, we just had an example of where, and they should have found this sooner, but they did find where the billing code that they had given on non-emergency medical transport was incorrect by 10 times the amount.
Wow.
But it was only in certain counties. It was in the 9 metro counties, and it had to do with extra large wheelchairs, and they gave them a billing rate where they could charge $668 for a pickup. The rate should have been $65. That's what it was in the rest of the state. That cost us about $35 million.
And where do you think that
I don't
money
know that
went?
it was fraud. It went to individuals who were still providing this service, but they
Okay.
had the wrong code. So was there waste? Were there mistakes? Absolutely. Was someone purposely trying to fraud the government? I don't believe so in that case, but they should have seen that sooner. They should have.
Huh.
And from the article that I read in the Denver Post and other places, the billing agent contacted the department and said, we think something's wrong here. And then the department didn't follow up. So that's just laziness and being irresponsible and not following through and doing your job.
If you were going to look specifically for fraud right now in Colorado, if they just decided, okay, Barb, you're not doing anything else, your only job is in Colorado, we want you to investigate and see if you can find any fraud, where would you start looking?
I would start in the Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance.
Why?
That is the Medicaid area.
Why would you start there?
Because of the other stories we've heard across the nation, because of there are programs that have ballooned in costs. And in, I'm thinking I don't know if it's fraud or if it's just mismanagement. So I would look at certain programs throughout the Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance. I think the executive director of that department spends a lot of time going after hospitals, which is kind of crazy to me. But looking at them and doing audits of hospitals, which I'm okay with audits, but where you're really going after them and you have, God, I can't think of the right word now, but she hired a contractor, the department hired a contractor that was really kind of predatory in their nature and going after trying to recover funds that they thought were maybe misspent or billed wrong or, incorrect. They didn't have all the information, that kind of stuff. So I think this department, because it's so large, it represents about 33, 36% of our general fund operating budget.
Wow.
So it's huge. Think, in the billions of dollars. This is a $15 billion department in their expenditures. So that's where I would go look first. There are programs, like I said, the fiscal note on this one program that I'm thinking of said it was going to cost us $4 million of general fund. We're now up to $80 million in less than a year and a half.
Wow.
So something's going on there where it needs to be inspected. It needs to be, and it's not really an audit. It's really more about forensic accounting. We need to go in and see what they're doing with the billing. Why all of a sudden is there so much more billing in this area, in this program? What is going on? Has somebody found a loophole? Has somebody found something that they can go after? Now, I do know that about, I'm not going to get the right year, let's just say 3 or 4 years ago, in this same area that I was talking about with the wrong billing codes in non-emergency and non-emergent medical transport, the department did find fraud.
Wow.
Where they were getting billed, but they caught it, turned it over to the Attorney General's office, and they just won that case.
Okay.
So yes. So do I think there's fraud? Yes. Do I know exactly where it's at? No. But that's the department I would look at first for waste, abuse, and mismanagement.
So say you become governor, you're probably putting some people in charge of some kind of task force or something to head that up, I'm assuming.
When I become governor, I will know who my department heads are going to be before I actually take office. We will be ready to go on day one.
Okay.
We will be looking at and have, yes, experts that, subject matter experts that are dealing with the department on a day-to-day basis to really start examining that. So, in this case, it would be the hospitals, the insurers, the other providers, the counties who deal with this department a lot, and those areas that deal with the department because they know.
Yeah.
They know what to really go look for. But it really is more about a forensic accounting versus just an audit.
Got to call Ben Affleck.
Oh, dude. Yeah. We'll give him some Sharpies and a glass wall, and he can just get after it. And if it doesn't go well, we know how that ends. I know a couple actuaries and a handful of forensic accountants. So just give me a shout when you're ready to go. We'll go find some fraud. I'll be your Doge administrator.
Come help.
I'll be the Nick Shirley in the situation.
Yeah.
I'll bring my video camera. How's that sound?
So you know what's terrifying about that, Barb, is hearing you say the numbers. The how much of this is illegal immigration handout? I mean, if it's 35% of Colorado's budget, and somebody said the other day it was 25% of America's budget right now.
Oh, wow. I don't know what it is of America's budget. But within our budget, like I said, it's somewhere around 35%. It's probably a pretty close number. And what was your question again?
Well, how much of it's illegal? I mean, so we have people coming over the border where there's just handouts. And so, they come in, they go to the hospital, they never pay a bill.
So I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't know the exact dollar amount. I do know of certain programs. Like I said, this program that I was talking about, it's regardless of immigration status. We have a state entitlement, Medicaid-like. It's not Medicaid because we don't pull down any federal funds with it, but it's Medicaid-like, so same benefits, and it's paid for all with state funds. That program right now is the one I was talking about. It's $80 million a year. Next year going up to over $100 million a year.
And where's the money? Who's it covering?
It covers undocumented.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
That's what I was getting at.
All right.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
makes me just fuming because I pay like almost $500 a month. I am Colorado born and raised. I love the state. I don't want to go anywhere. And you're telling me $80 million of my tax money is going to illegal immigrants. That is very
Oh,
aggravating.
that's one department.
So
That's one
multiple,
area.
and I'm paying $400 or $500 a month for my health insurance and paying my taxes and paying my fees, Polis, paying my fees.
Then I probably
all
shouldn't
of
tell you the
stuff.
other program.
Please tell us all the programs.
There's
we need to know
another
all of this.
program called Omni Salute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Very familiar with this one.
this program, both programs that I'm talking about, essentially they are health insurance programs. I mean, that's what Medicaid is. It's a health insurance. So both of these are health insurance programs. It's about $90 million a year
Yeah.
for 6,600.
So right there, we're almost at
Undocumented
$200 million. That's just going straight to
That's
people who.
growing, right? And so that's just in those two areas. Now, can I pinpoint in all of the other departments? You know, because we fund through the state health department, we fund local health departments who provide services, and they don't ask. You know, I mean, people come in and they need health services. They provide that, but there are county funds and state funds that go towards that.
Wow. Man, that is just unbelievable. That's got to be fixed. I want to be here. I love Colorado. I can't imagine how many people are just here for the free ride and they're just enjoying it while people that are hardworking, like me and my wife and other business owners, are just paying to have their health insurance handed to them, have their checks handed to them. That is just so frustrating. There's people like me that love Colorado. We don't want to have to go anywhere. We want to stay here. We want the state to course correct and go in the right direction. And one of the big concerns right now, at least from some of the other candidates, and I'm very interested to hear what your opinion on this is, because this is actually the next role. And this is another post from Kyle Clark, and this is talking about Colorado's voter integrity. So Kyle Clark just posted yesterday that Colorado is working on contingency plans to preserve mail-in voting if President Trump forces the Postal Service to stop delivering ballots. So obviously we have the SAVE Act that's pending right now, and they're trying to get to pass through. There's a lot of candidates that have voiced a lot of concern for voter integrity in Colorado, that there's a lot of mail-in ballots. There's a lot of potential voter fraud. I want to hear what you think about the state of Colorado and our voting integrity. What do you think about it?
So I'm probably in a little bit different position than most of the other candidates. So I served as a county commissioner for 20 years. The clerk's office, the election official, is an additional county elected official, but, went through the program with them, funded, the security and the things that take place. And so I would say, at least in Weld County and in Colorado, I think our system was secure. I think it did work the way that it was supposed to work. When I talk to my clerk, when I see all of the things that have to go through, where the firewalls are, the Dominion voting machines are not hooked up to the internet. Not ever, not at any point. There are audits done of the ballots that come in. There are all sorts of safeguards and things that are put in place. And I would tell people, look, go talk to your county clerk. Majority of our county clerks are Republican in the state of Colorado. They run the election. Jenna Griswold does not run the elections in the state. She's, overseas, gets to make the rules, but it's really those county clerks that are running the elections. And I have the utmost confidence in my county clerk and her staff. Between the top three individuals in that clerk's office, they probably have 80 years of experience of election experience.
Do you think that there's any level of fraud that goes on in the election here?
I think there could be, yes. Do I think people are corrupt at some point and they try to do things? Yes, absolutely. I think that happens. But I also know that, like, with the signatures and with the ballots and stuff, I know that if something comes in that just doesn't even look right as far as the signature, I mean, they have machines that look through it. They also have people who look through it. They send those right off to the district attorney. And I don't know if you've ever had to cure your ballot, if you've ever had to go back and fix your ballot afterwards because they told you that, hey, we didn't count your ballot because your signature didn't look right. I mean, there's a lot of those that go through. There are places, and the district attorney will prosecute cases if people are, signing someone else's ballot. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So I think there is a lot of things in place. Just from what I know from being a county commissioner, working with the clerk who runs those elections, I felt like they were secure. In Colorado, I can't speak for all of the United States.
Do you know Jason Mikesell?
I do.
So Jason, I think he had a really level-headed approach on the topic. He said, we got to stop pushing the narrative of voter fraud as much as we are, because that just discourages people to go out and
He's
vote, makes them
absolutely
feel like that it doesn't even matter. So I do think that a big issue is just voter turnout. And I think that that's really where our focus should be. I am concerned because California is one state that Nick Shirley recently went to, and he uncovered a lot of easy ways to just go in and just sign, and you can just start voting without having to have anything. So there was that level. And I think that because of, Nick Shirley's Minnesota, even before that, he's done a good job of having a good track record of covering important topics and just being a honest, independent journalist. And I think that his discovery in California has a lot of people concerned right now. And I think that Colorado, we do have a little bit of a problem with the mail-in ballots from what I've heard from other candidates.
I think one of the issues is also, and I would agree with Sheriff Mikesell when he's saying, like, we keep talking about that the elections aren't secure, and people are like, well, then what the heck am I voting for? And he's right, that's true. But I think the other thing that needs to occur is we need to purge the voter rolls. So I don't know what year it was, but it was a while ago when basically nobody goes off the voter roll. Like when they move, they should be purged off that roll, right? Especially if they move out of state.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if you've done any door-to-door recently, but when you're going through the list, sometimes there are people who are still on there that don't live there anymore. And so I think we should have more clear, concise ways of purging that voter roll. If someone has passed away, if someone has moved, if, all of those things, then we should be able to purge the roll. And I don't think we have as much ability to do that. So that's why I think there could be better, safeguards put in place in that area specifically.
Do you know if that's a state-run thing or a county per?
That is a state-run thing.
So that's a Jenna Griswold thing.
That would be at this point, yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
let me clarify something for just a second.
Sure.
I'm going to push back for just a minute.
Okay.
I mentioned this in a previous podcast, so you're not getting a bomb dropped in your lap, a hot potato moment. My entire family, there's 4 of us, we got 3 ballots each this year.
Okay.
3 each.
And were they for different districts?
No,
Different,
Douglas County, clerk and recorder.
But were they for like the fire district or for
Nope.
school district?
Nope, triplicate. In triplicate. And I took that down to the clerk and recorder, and they said, yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it shouldn't have.
Yeah, but it did. So I sit here on the other side of what you just said, and I go, okay. So I here's my regret now. I wish I had actually turned in all 3 of my ballots that I got in my name and signed it with a different signature on each one to test drive the theory of who's looking at because you can how do you validate a signature? I mean, your signature is your signature. So like that's mine, but who would know the difference if I signed it 3 different ways? You see what I'm saying? Like we're doing mail-in ballots and there's no proof of anything other than I just signed something. As opposed to going down in person, pulling out my ID and going, this is who I am. Here's my face. You see it. Here's my thing. I go in like I used to do when I was growing up, right? Yeah. I cast my ballot and I walk out. I get my sticker and I say, thank you very much. What an honor it is to live in America. Now I get something in the mail dropped off to me that I send back in that you can't quantify. And you just said the very thing that I have a concern with is we have no idea where these are being delivered to. Who's here? Who's alive? Who's dead? Who's not? And if all it takes is somebody having to sign something and send it back in.
First of all, I would be very careful about doing that. because they do check your signature and they have your signature on file, and they will send it back to you. They won't send your ballot back to you.
Careful about doing what, just clarify that. What do you mean?
I would be careful about signing different ways or having somebody else sign your signature, because that is breaking the law. That is illegal.
Oh, let me.
Not that you said you were going to do that, but I would just be careful.
No. Let me walk that backwards.
Yeah.
My regret is, Barb, I didn't do it.
That you didn't, your name, you didn't sign your name differently 3 different ways.
No, I'll start this over for argument's
Okay,
sake.
sorry.
I got
I'm just trying to follow.
So my entire family got 3 ballots each. So at no time should that have ever happened. It's never happened in history. This year, I opened up the mail and I've got 12 ballots inside the mail. One for my daughter, one for my son, one for my wife, one for me, in triplicate, same ballots. So against the law is not my concern. What I'm concerned with is that the system is totally jacked and sent
you all those ballots.
for my entire family. And when I went down, the answer was, that shouldn't have happened. When I said I wish I had signed them all differently, what I'm getting at is I would love to test the system that's already broken, sending me too many ballots. So clearly we do have a problem. I'm an anomaly, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how many people got triplicate ballots.
Yeah, I've never had that happen. But I would agree with you on the point of having to show your ID.
Yeah, that was what I was
don't
driving at
disagree.
with this whole thing. I mean,
Yeah,
to me in
that's what I
America,
thought.
why are we? It just bothered me that my entire family got 3 ballots each. But I don't know who's sitting around reading all the signatures, and I don't want to get lost and go down a rabbit trail. I think we should have voter ID present. Period. Like I can't come up with nobody's ever given me an answer why we don't do that. It's always about convenience.
Man.
But there's no proof in it.
It would have been really interesting to see what would have happened if you would have just signed it. Maybe you could have just signed it on
I
one of
don't
your
think-
kids, since they're in Japan anyways. Just
Oh no,
Just
do
signed off.
not do that.
just figure out if anything happens.
I would love to see if somebody knocked on my door.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Barb's looking out for us here. She's
I'm
looking
telling
out
you,
for
do
us.
not do that. But if you would have signed all 3 and sent them all in, I don't think they all would have been counted. First of all, I think it would have been caught, but I don't know. And I'm not saying the system's perfect. Please.
Oh,
don't
and I'm not.
misunderstand me.
Look, we're
But-
man-made. We are all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. So it's just ironic that we're sitting in here,
And that happened with you.
and it happened with me, and that's why I was like, yeah, I find humor in this, and at the same time, it makes me mad because we have people coming over the border. It's porous. We don't know who they are. We have bad actors in the middle of it. I'm in the world of security,
So-
law enforcement. I want to protect. Right? We have incredible spending. $1 trillion a year going towards welfare programs. I mean, just on and on and on and on in this country.
Yeah.
You're getting ready to run for the high office in Colorado. We've had multiple guests that are on. We're asking them essentially the same questions. I'm concerned as a citizen that not only, to Jared's point, not only are our tax dollars going to waste into fraud, but also we have mismanagement of a lot of things. And what does it look like on the other side if you're running for office, the same way it would be Scott, Victor, or whoever's running? What does it look like when you step in to solve some of this? Because these are legitimate concerns.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
There is a lot of work to do because, I mean, haven't even gone into some of the other things that are out there that, I just don't know. And you don't know until you get into that office.
Sure.
Kind of thing, right? With regard to, because the governor gets custodial funds. We don't even appropriate those. Those don't go through the joint budget committee. They don't go through the legislative branch. I don't know the accounting on those funds at all. The lack of transparency and accountability drives me nuts.
Sure.
I'm with you 100%.
How much does that
And
represent? Do you even know?
No.
What? So we have no idea how much the governor himself just has to be able to just spend and send however he wants.
There are funds, like especially during COVID, that came directly to the governor, and they're called custodial funds. There are funds over in the Attorney General's office from settlements that he wrote into the settlement that the Attorney General's office would spend the dollars. He had an $800 million settlement on the opioid stuff.
What?
I mean, he has some accounting, but we don't appropriate those funds through the legislative branch. So we have the executive branch and we have the legislative branch. We write the budget, but if there are custodial funds, there's a lack of transparency and a lack of accountability.
So it could be anything from $1 million to $1 billion.
Yes.
We have no
So
idea.
that's why I'm not disagreeing with you on stuff. There's a mess. It is a huge mess. But I think the difference between myself and the other candidates is I don't need a lot of on-the-job training. I know where to start going looking. I know how to, go back and look through those books and find out where those funds are and where those funds were spent. But think back to, I don't know if you remember back at the beginning of the summer last year where I was kind of like in a fight with Governor Polis over that bridge,
Yeah.
that pedestrian
Yep.
bridge.
Yep.
Remember?
I don't. Yeah. Very well.
$30 million.
$30 million bucks. Yep.
$30 million bucks.
Yep.
That wasn't being appropriated. He came in with a budget request on that originally, and we told him no. And then all of a sudden I'm at a dinner and he's talking about it, this big, huge dinner. And he's talking about, yeah, we're going to build this bridge for the 150th. And I'm like, whoa, well, wait a minute. And, I went and found this other legislator who's on the Capital Development Committee. I'm like, did you guys approve that? Because you have to approve it. We have to approve it, on the Joint Budget Committee. Nobody did that. Like, where's that money coming from? Well, custodial funds. Just to give you an example.
So we know there was at least 30 million.
Well, there was more than that. He got in a lot of funds. There were funds that came in from the federal government during the public health emergency during COVID that went directly to like healthcare policy and finance, that department I was talking about, to the Department of Human Services, to the Department of Health and Environment. Money that went directly there, directly to the judicial branch that did not come through the books, so to speak, in the legislative branch, in the budget.
Yeah.
So do I know what all those funds are? No. I mean, I could maybe go back and try and figure it out. But at this point, I don't know. I wasn't on the Joint Budget Committee. I wasn't even a legislator at that time.
Huh. Well, let's shift
Kinda
gears.
scary.
Let's shift gears again. We're going to keep on going through this. We've already covered some heavy-hitting topics. But before we really get too much, because we've already talked a little bit about the other gubernatorial candidates that you're running against in the primary, but we want to talk a little bit about the general, because there's going to be, I think that the Democrats have narrowed down their two picks, I think, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be Bennett or Weiser. I think that's what most people are agreeing on. So I saved a couple of different things, just the announcement from Phil and the announcement from Michael Bennett that they're running. They got some traction on X, and then they've also got they've posted a couple events. It has looked like Michael Bennett's crowd has been, I don't know, about average, maybe 10 to 20 people per whatever he's doing. Phil has been averaging about the same, but Phil has also been doing a lot of like big event type speaking engagements, it looks like. So it looks like that they both have a fair amount of traction. And from what I understand, it seems like that on the left side of things, they're kind of a little bit up in arms against each other, because there's kind of Team Bennett and Team Weiser, and they're kind of not really seeing eye to eye right now. But my question is, these two candidates have a lot of money, they have a lot of traction, and they are obviously both, I mean, from what I've heard, Weiser is the more kind of extreme,
Yep.
but both will obviously continue to send Colorado down a path of more destruction until it's pretty much imploded. That's my assessment of just where we've been and where we're heading right now. So what do you think it would take? What do you think it's going to take? What would be your game plan, your strategy after primaries are over? Let's say that you are the candidate. We're running this thing and we're trying to win this general. How do you think your best strategy against the likes of a Weiser or a Bennett, how are you going to beat one of these guys?
Sure. Well, first of all, I hope they just beat the crap out of each other during the primary and spend all their money.
Wise.
And I think they're going to, because I think in their minds they believe their race is the primary race, that whoever wins that primary is going to win the general election. I just think
Makes sense.
And I think they're, again, kind of overestimating and going, thinking maybe too full of themselves to some degree with that, because I don't think that's where the general public is. I don't think in this case, it's like I told people that I was working and helping to get elected in the 24 election, 75% of the people that are going to vote for you are not Republican. And it's the same thing in the state. 52% or so are unaffiliated, independents, something, other than Republican or Democrat. Republicans are about 23%, I think. Last numbers I saw, Democrats are around 25% of the vote. So we have to be able to appeal to more than just that 23% Republican, right? We have to be able to appeal. But the unaffiliates in the polling that I've seen, and this is one of the reasons why I waited so long to get into the race. I didn't want to just go in and be a sacrificial lamb. That's not fun. That's not a fun race, right? I mean, it's just not. I wouldn't do that. So I was looking at the polling and watching polling. For the first time in 7 years, Governor Polis's numbers, he was underwater and going down. And they weren't Republican polls that were being done. They were polls done by Healthier Colorado, which is more of a left-leaning organization, and other polls that you've been seeing. And just watching it from like last April, May timeframe through even, now, but even through like September, October timeframe, Polis's disapproval rating was like 52%, 52, 53%. 53% of the people said they disapproved of the job that Polis was doing. In a couple of polls that I saw, the unaffiliate voters are saying, look, 60% were saying the state's going in the wrong direction. We're not on the right track. And they specifically said that they thought the legislature had gone too far on the social issues. That's all they were concerned about, and that they weren't working on the issues that they thought were the most important to them, which are unaffordability, and safety and crime. Those are the top two issues. They still are. I mean, roads are getting up there again, but those are the two top issues. They're almost always the same two top issues. But they said the legislature, man, you've taken us the wrong way. We don't like it. And it's the first time in 7 years where we've started seeing the numbers move that way and the electric move that way. Like, I think they've had it. Just like what you were saying earlier. You're a native Coloradoan? Me too. I'm a fourth generation Coloradoan. I'm not independently wealthy. I'm also not low income. So we're in the middle, right? I pay taxes too. I think every tax dollar is like my tax dollar, and I can't stand it when it goes to waste kind of thing. But that, everybody's feeling that crunch. The people who are in the middle, the working class, is saying, look, enough's enough. We're struggling. We're trying to figure out how we take our kids to the dentist, kind of stuff, things of that nature. And we've got a legislature that just keeps going farther and farther. I should go this way, farther and farther to the left. And they just won't stop. So I think that voters have woke up. I think 2 years ago, in 24, I chaired the No on HH campaign. We won that. It went down on a 60-40 vote.
Wow.
So I think that individuals are still fiscally conservative. They want to protect their tax dollars. They want Tabor protected. They understand what Tabor is, even though maybe a lot of them weren't even around when Tabor was first passed back in 1992.
Yeah,
But
it
they
was
get
before
it.
my time. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I
look
still
a
know
little
what
young.
Tabor is, though. I got a Tabor check one time before. I hope I get it
Exactly.
again.
Exactly. Well, the Democrats are doing everything they can to make sure you don't. So they get that. They know how much their insurance costs. I mean, I'm just as furious as you are that we're funding things for people who are not U.S. citizens, and people who are U.S. citizens we're making cuts to. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, the things that are going on, and I think the people are understanding that. So I think there is a path. I think there's an opening, but you have to have a strong message. You have to be a disciplined candidate, and you have to have, quite frankly, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to have experience, and I do have the experience in governing. I was a county commissioner for 20 years, led my county to zero debt, lowered the mill levy, which means I lowered the property taxes. As a state senator, in the minority, I passed bills that were the largest property tax cut in the state's history.
That's pretty awesome.
Right?
That sounds good to me.
I know. And then the other thing is when we passed Proposition 130, which was, I call it the Back the Blue measure, that said $350 million state general fund needed to go towards recruitment, retention, and training of law enforcement officers throughout the state of Colorado. I marshaled that bill through to make sure that happened, and we met the will of the voter kind of thing. So backing the blue, backing law enforcement. So I know how the budget works. I know where the waste is. I know, and I try to stop it as best I can. I'm not saying I'm perfect, though, but, I know how the programs work. I know how to govern. I've overseen a state executive office. I worked in the Owens administration. And as a county commissioner, I've implemented these programs that we have throughout the state. So I know where to go cut. I just need to be governor so I can go get that budget balanced more than just one day out of the year and make sure that we have stopped the spending. And the governor can do that. on the Joint Budget Committee, I can't. We have to budget towards current law. The governor doesn't have to spend everything we budget. So I would cut spending immediately.
How do you get on the ballot? How do you get on the primary ballot? We're shifting gears. We just talked about the general, and I think
Yeah.
that's a very wise answer. I think that hopefully they do end up fighting and spending a lot of money in the primary on the left side of the aisle. But for the primary, because the primary is the race that you're in right now. For
Yeah.
the primary, what is your strategy and what's your road to get on the ballot?
So my strategy is pretty simple. I go out and walk and knock and talk doors, and I'm petitioning onto the ballot. I may still go through the assembly process. We'll see. Just need to see. I mean, there are, 20 people that have
There's a lot of gubernatorial candidates. It's
filed on the
pretty
Republican
crowded.
side. You have to at least get 30% of the delegates. Well, with 20 people, no more than 3 can get 30%. So, I will have my safety net. I will have petitions signed. I'm doing signature gathering. I'm pretty close to getting it done. So, and I go out and do some of that myself. I've done it in my last 3 or 4 races where I've petitioned on and gotten my signatures. And then also, most of the time, go through the assembly process as well.
Who do you think ends
Yeah.
up on that?
Who are the 3?
Yeah, who do you think ends up on that ballot?
Well, I think I for sure end up on that ballot, and then we need to see who comes out of the assembly. I don't know for sure. I think
Can only one petition on?
no, anybody can petition on.
Anyone
Okay.
can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So more than one can petition on to the ballot. So I know Victor's trying to get signatures. So if he gets signatures, he could be on the ballot as well. And then coming out of the assembly, it could be Scott Bottoms, it could be Sheriff Mikesell, and it could be Joe Altman. I don't think the others really have a shot at it, but I'm not going to tell anybody they can't run for office.
I think that you're right about those 3 picks. I think that they're going to be the ones. The petitioning, a lot of this stuff I'm really kind of being educated on for the first time as we've had a lot of
Sure.
gubernatorial candidates on and we've been talking about this process. But the petitioning on, I think that that's admirable. You're going out grassroots, getting your own signatures and having that as a safety net, getting on the primary.
Jared, I love that you call it grassroots because other folks don't want to call it grassroots. They think going through the assembly process where, there may be 2,000-3,000 delegates that are voting, deciding who's going to be the Republican nominee on the ballot, right? I have to get at least 1,500 good Republican signatures in every congressional district. So a minimum of 12,000. You end up pretty much doubling that to make sure that you have enough signatures. But so again, I truly do believe that it's grassroots, out talking to folks, so I've been in Holyoke and, Grand Junction, and let's see, I was in Prowers, so that's Lamar, been in Sterling, all over Douglas County, all over Weld County, in Larimer County, different areas throughout the state, just getting signatures. It's a really good place to, one, work to hone your message, but it's also really good to be in a place where you're in touch with people and they're telling you exactly to your face. I mean, if somebody is willing to come to your door, to their door and answer it, and then, spend 10, maybe 15 minutes at the most talking to you, they care about what's going on and they're going to tell you what is of utmost concern to them. And it is. It's the unaffordability in our state. It's, about jobs and the economy, and it's about crime. It's about safety in their neighborhoods. And then I get a lot about roads recently.
Oh, yeah. Don't even
roads
get
are
us started
bad.
on roads. We've talked about roads a lot on this show, but and speed limits. That's a whole nother discussion. I would liken that to grassroots more than here's the thing. We had Scott Bottoms he has strong opinions on petitioning on.
Yes, he does.
There's lots of people that have strong opinions about different things. I just think that politics are such a mess. I don't really know enough about all the processes to know, that's not the way that we should do it. This is the way we should do it. It seems like if I know anything in my few years on this planet so far, it's that if a politician says that it should be done this way, a lot of times it means that it probably shouldn't be done that way. And that means that that's just the political muck and mire that has been formed and shaped over years to get us to this point. And clearly the system's broken and it's not working. So I'll say what I admire about you as well as Victor Marks is going the petition route. And I like that you're still saying safety net, because you'll try the other way as well, but petitioning on is a valid way. And I think that's more grassroots than just playing the political game, playing that game of the delegates and all. Because let's be honest, the majority of people who live in Colorado, they don't even know how this stuff works. But whenever somebody shows up to their door with a petition, they know what a petition is. They know what signing something is, but they don't know what caucus and assembly and delegate. They don't know all this stuff. I think there's a lot of people that are maybe becoming a little bit more educated on it, but there's a lot of people that don't know, probably will never know. They're living their
And
life.
don't
They're
want to
busy.
go if they do
don't
know.
want to be involved.
They don't
We've
wanna
been
go.
to a couple of different rallies, and they're all, whenever people start getting up and giving the accolades to so-and-so and the budget meetings and all this, it's clear. There's a reason why I think so many people have stepped away and they have no interest in politics. I think it's because it's stepped away from that grassroots mentality. When they say grassroots, they aren't meaning grassroots. They're meaning political.
And I'll give you an example. I have been a precinct committee person pretty much since 1992. I mean, I've had a few times in there where I thought I had somebody who would take it over for me, and they did it for a year, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore." Right?
It can be not fun.
It's not fun. It used to be fun.
Yep.
I mean, I used to love to go to the state assembly and see my friends from all around the state, my other commissioner friends, and just talk about stuff, and it was fun.
Why do you think it's not fun? Because I have my take.
Because people are mean to you.
They are.
They
Thank
are
you.
mean. And
they are.
they
and they're
are
mean
so-
in the party too.
They're very mean in the party, and they have their opinion, and if you don't agree with them 100%,
Yep.
then you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
And they're going to let you know about
Well,
it.
you should tell the Douglas County GOP that, because those people eat each other.
Believe me.
I
I
did.
went to my last caucus,
Yeah.
and my daughter was the precinct committee chair. I asked her to do, because she lives in the same precinct as me, obviously. And I asked her to do it. She couldn't go. It's a Saturday morning. She's got little kids or younger kids, and they had basketball, and so she's off doing that. And I'm like, all right, I'll go, and I'll just take care of it. I walk in. There are only 2 people in my precinct, me and someone else. So I sit down. I get the packet. I've been the precinct committee person all these other years, so I'm like, all right, got to get through this, right? And I'm pulling out the packet, starting to read it, get the stuff, start filling stuff out. Have a gentleman come over, and he's like, he looks at me, goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hi, I'm state senator." He goes, "I know who you are." I'm like, "Okay." And then he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going through the packet so I can prepare us and we can get through our precinct and we can vote on things." And he goes, "Well, why are you doing that?" And I said, "Because somebody needs to do it. Would you like to do it?" And he said, "No." And he goes, and I said, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "No, I know who you are. You're a Democrat." And I'm thinking, there's only 2 of us, right? Only 2 people at my precinct caucus. We were able to have 3 delegates to the county assembly. We don't even have enough there. Right? That's not grassroots to me. As the course of the day went out, or the caucus went out, we found out that this individual, I'm looking through the list, and I looked up and I said, you're not on the precinct list. So then he starts accusing me of stuff. I said, no, look, your name's not on here. I said, "Where do you live?" And he told me. I said, "You're in the wrong precinct. You belong over there."
You know what's interesting?
But they were mean.
They are mean. It's an interesting story because I did the precinct thing once, and I don't want to say never again because I think it's unfair. I think we have an amazing. I love my country and I love Colorado, but what a lot of people don't understand. And to Jared's point, he's like, "I'm kind of a newbie in this." It's a very convoluted process.
Yes.
It's not fun, but the Democrats don't do that. It's not the same on the other side of the house.
They do it differently.
They do it differently. Explain that to people.
I don't know exactly how they do it, but I also know a lot of them petition on.
Yeah, but it's just run differently is the point.
And you've got to go. You go to a caucus. Could be 3 to 4 hours of your day on a Saturday morning. It used to be Tuesday nights. Now sometimes it's Saturday mornings. Then you have to go to a district meeting. That's at least another 3 or 4 hours of a Saturday. Then you have to go to a county assembly. And then you have to go to a state assembly. That's a lot of time.
Yep.
People are like, I'm not going to invest that much time. Because especially when people are it's not that much fun.
Yep, and that's just to get through the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, it is what it is. I like to go talk to people at their door.
Which I think is a good thing, and I think we need more of that. And I think that if we could make the political sphere maybe just start to shift a little bit more in that direction of just being able to have conversations with people rather than everything have to be just bottled and put into this political box of everything has to be done this way. I get it. Systems and programs and structure, it all exists for a reason. But I also think that there's a lot of people that are just sick of the system. It's clearly kind of served its time. It's probably outdated. There probably could be some modernization and good things come out of it. But what do I know? All that I know is I'm somebody who's thankful to be having conversations like
Thank
this
you.
with the likes of you and the other candidates. And I think that there's an important conversation to be had with you and the other candidates in that who are you? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Why are you running for Colorado? We talked a little bit before we started recording about you jumping into the race a little bit later. Why are you running in Colorado? If you could just appeal to the more emotional side and kind of come up to surface, so to speak, instead of talking about a lot of the large issues. Obviously, there's issues to fix, but why? You said you're a fourth generation Coloradan, so
Yeah.
obviously you love Colorado, and I know you want to serve Colorado. But why? What made you jump into the race, and why are you running for governor here in Colorado?
Because I want to make a difference. This is my state. You know, I'm a mom. I'm a grandmother. I'm a fourth generation Coloradoan. I grew up on a dairy farm, pretty humble beginnings in North Jefferson County. And enough's enough. Our state's a mess. Democrats, one-party control. We're unaffordable. We're unsafe. We're unraveling. Our roads are crumbling. It's just time's up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with that. We need to get our state back. I served as county commissioner for 20 years. I never intended to go into office. I was minding my own business, I have 2 daughters, trying to raise 2 daughters, owned a dairy farm, owned a flower shop. I'm a pretty busy person. And along comes government, or along comes, big waste companies trying to site several waste disposal facilities all over my rural part of Weld County. I call my county commissioner, doesn't even have the time of day for me. It just really ticked me off.
Wow.
And I kept calling him and, what do I need to do? How do I fight this? My community is coming together. He told me I was just chasing windmills. I told him he was going to be darn sorry when I caught one. And so I ran against him because it just really ticked me off. And I thought, I'm standing up for my community. I believe in my community. These are my neighbors. We don't want to be surrounded by landfills. This isn't even all of our trash, right? Kind of thing. And he tells me, you're just chasing windmills. And nobody really, cares about you. I live 45 miles away from the county seat. And I'm thinking, that's just a wrong attitude, buddy. And so I ran against him and I won. And I got into being a county commissioner. I loved that job. You can do so much good for the people that you're serving. You can make change like that. You wear all 3 hats of government. You get some good, solid people in there. And the next thing you know, you're leading your county to zero debt. You're lowering people's property taxes. You're building county highways, that you're not going into debt on. You're working with great people like Sheriff Steve Reams and really doing good things for your county. I led my county with Sheriff Reams. We were both there at that time to be a Second Amendment sanctuary county because of the red flag law.
Yep.
You get to push back. During COVID, Governor Polis kept telling us stuff that, kept passing all these executive orders and saying, that you had to wear masks, you couldn't go here, you couldn't do that, and then he'd, lecture all of us. It's like, whatever. And then, he would end his, every single one of his executive orders said, and the county commissioners will enforce it. Well, we were the county told him no. Like, we're not going to enforce your executive order. That's not ours. We don't have to enforce that. He got really ticked off. And you want to know what he said to us? In a press conference, didn't even have the guts to say it to our faces to begin with, but he told us that he was going to cut funding from Weld County. He didn't know what he was talking about. He doesn't have the ability to cut funding like that. And so we challenged him on it. But, so again, just I'm running because I just truly believe that we should have a state where, my grandchildren should be able to afford a home when they get older. That there should be that kind of opportunity at some point for them, where people should be able to feel safe in their neighborhood. They shouldn't have to be sitting there thinking, God, we're the second most dangerous state in the nation. and I don't feel safe. Maybe my car's going to get ripped off. They shouldn't have to feel that way. That's not the Colorado I grew up in. That's not the Colorado I want. Where we protect our children, where our education system truly educates our child and doesn't think that they are the parent of our child. Government should take over parenting our child. I just don't believe in that at all. Where we protect Tabor, lower our taxes, and where businesses get to thrive.
Amen.
And innovate. And
you can say that again.
And create jobs. We do not have a Colorado that does any of those things right now. And I'm greatly worried about the opportunities that any of us have. But, that next generation thing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of opportunity do they have here? I mean, I have 2 daughters. They both used to live in Colorado. 3 years ago, my oldest daughter moved to Nebraska because they'd had enough of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
People shouldn't have to move out of the state that they grew up in. They shouldn't have to do that. So that's the Colorado, that Colorado where, it's about the opportunity for all of us, but in particular, that next generation, that we're building a Colorado for that future. That's the Colorado I'm going to go fight for. That's why I'm running. That's why I care.
I love that. Well said, Barb. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn this over to Micah. Whatever questions you have,
Are you going to grill me?
I'll have just one more concluding question as we're wrapping up here. But Micah, go ahead. Whatever.
Not
you
at
have
all.
left.
Actually, I love everybody that's come on the platform or on the show. She's had a little bit of a different take or a theory on this, that, or the other. But I'll tell you what they've all said, and you just said it. It's crime. It's cost of living. It's crime. It's cost of living. I mean, that's what we're facing here in Colorado. And people are sick and tired of it. And I too am one. I'm the one that has. I push. I think it's mental illness. I think we have a mental health problem that I think is actually bigger than all of that. That I think contributes to those other things. That's just my take, and that's a whole different story for another time. But as you're heading into the primaries, you're getting ready to really start amping this thing up because we're getting ready to turn the corner into March.
Yep.
We're not far away. Will you debate? Will you sit down with other candidates and go counterpoint, and get after it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I haven't dodged one forum. I mean, there have been some I haven't been able to go to because I'm still doing my job. I'm on the Joint Budget Committee. I got elected to be a state senator. I'm still doing my job, and I'm in the thick of things right now.
Sure.
But every forum that I can go to, I go. I'm not trying to dodge any forums. I don't duck questions. If Kyle Clark calls me up and says, do you want to be recorded on this? I'm like, yes.
Gotcha.
I will, because I think the people deserve to know who we are.
Right.
And they need to know what we're going to say and what we can do. And I just think that's extremely important.
Me too. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
It means a lot. And final question, and this is from last night. So I played hockey. I got home.
I thought you were going to say you play hooky. And I'm
I
like,
played
okay.
hooky. Nope, I play hockey. I play hockey a few nights a week. Been a little sickly as of late, but I decided to go sweat it out a little bit less. I felt like I needed a good skate, needed a good, I just clear my brain kind of deal. I got home, pulled up some things online, pulled up X, pulled up Fox News, pulled up CNN, pulled up Al Jazeera. I'm reading them all last night. And the president, did his address. And it's just, in your words, your emotion, and this could be Barb the senator, this could be Barb the mom, this could be Barb, however you want to answer this. What did you think? And I'm just on 2 points. One, when the Democrats didn't stand, just out of courtesy and kindness and reverence for a mom who had lost her daughter. It's not a partisan issue. Yeah. And then number 2, which I thought was a masterclass chess move by Trump. Are you with America or are you with illegal? And Democrats sat for both of those. What's your take?
I think it was disrespectful. Not necessarily just to the president, but to all of us U.S. citizens in this great nation of ours.
Yeah.
Look, how rude. I mean, I just, again, unfounded. I just can't believe that they did that. Yeah. This mom lost her daughter. In a horrific manner. We all saw it. It's horrible. It's not partisan. You can't stand and pay your respects and show compassion and show respect to that individual, to that mom. I just think, they lost all my respect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Senator Bennett,
Right.
Senator Hickenlooper.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean you weren't standing? You know, even in the state of the state, when Governor Polis would say things, there's some things we would not clap for as Republicans, but there were things we would clap for. But when he was introducing people, or if he were to introduce, you know, veterans or individuals of that nature, you know, people who have gone through traumatic experiences and suffered, we would have stood.
Sure.
We do that on the Senate floor every day. So I just think that is so disrespectful.
Okay, so part B to it, and then I'm going to close out.
Yeah.
Do you think they did it because they hate America, or do you think they did it because they hate Trump? Or both?
I think for some of them it's both. I think for all of them it's because they hate Trump.
Okay.
And again, what does that get us? What does hate get us like that?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I watched it in replay several times last night, and then I watched it again today. And I'm trying to wrap my head around where we've gone. That's why I said I think mental illness is our biggest problem. I think there's a lot of other things that are byproducts of this, but from school massacres to church shootings to on and on and on to trans issues to dysphoria. And look, there's people with legitimate problems. I'm not saying that there's not, and I don't group it all into one thing, but we've got a very serious mental health problem in this country. We have a very serious mental health problem in this state. And when I see people sitting on their collective butts who can't stand, just out of respect, for no other reason other than just respect. I mean, how
were you raised?
Well,
You know?
I think we're beyond. I mean, it's a good point, but I think we're actually beyond that. I think again, I think there's a psychosis that is just released up there with people that they're beyond it now. And so you have a gentleman who is shot 3 times, goes over, flies back, and you're sitting on your butt. And then a mom, you can't, these images are living rent free in our heads. And I really had a hard time walking away from that last night, because I used to think that it was just extremes on either side. And then I thought maybe it was more, and now I just think it's just party division. I don't believe that there were people on the Democratic left last night that didn't have emotion seeing that mom, but I think they sat because they hated the guy who did the announcement more. And that bothers me.
Really sad.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic on a level it's hard to describe.
It is pathetic. I just don't get it at all. But here's the thing. How about civility?
Sure.
How about, just respect for your fellow men? We've lost that.
Yeah.
We have a U.S. senator who thinks it's okay to drop the F-bomb. I don't like it. I don't think that's respectful to anyone to do that. I don't think it's cool. They've gotten so far to being this whole woke mentality, and they think it's okay, and it's not. And I think the other thing that's happened is with these social media platforms, people get to be anonymous, and they think they can say and do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they can be mean, and they can be hurtful, and they can be stupid on there, and nobody needs to know that it's them. Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem as well.
And do you?
I think there is some mental health illness, that's mental behavior issues that we have in this, in this world. I think COVID really hurt a generation.
Oh, very much so.
Of folks, right? Just the way, it just changed the way that as a society we operated. When we had government telling us you have to stay in your home and you have to go everywhere and wear a mask, unless of course you were in Weld County, we didn't say that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I think it just really changed people's mentality and messed with their heads.
Right.
I would agree with that. I think, I don't do pot, marijuana, or whatever we call it these days. But I think having that legalized in our state caused some issues as well.
Oh, significant.
Right? And I think it's shown how it's hurt our economy, but more so, it's hurt our youth.
Yep.
And it's hurt just families in our state.
Right. Very much in agreement with you on that, ma'am. I'm glad you
So,
brought that up, because that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's true.
Yeah.
Not to mention, where did all the tax dollars go to?
But I also think just this whole,
Just saying.
No, I agree with you.
Just saying. There's a little bit of revenue that didn't get placed properly. So.
Yeah. And then it's just this whole issue of civility. There have been times like on the Senate floor where, again, we have rules about decorum, and it's the Republicans have to go to the Democrats and say, look, you don't get to wear a T-shirt with a saying on it. It's in the rules. Like, follow the rules. Just follow the rules. That's all we're asking for. Have respect. And, I will say during the special session, when we didn't have the opportunity to cut the budget like we should have been doing, and we spent 6 days, they spent 6 days increasing taxes on businesses, pretty furious. But for 6 solid days, all they did was barrage how bad the president was and big, beautiful bill and how it ruined our budget. No, they ruined our budget. Congress gave us a tax break here in this state.
Yep.
I'm pretty thankful for that, quite frankly. But they just kept going on, and I can still remember that I think it was either last day or second to last day. We're on the Senate floor. I'd just come out of Appropriations Committee where they had been bombastic towards, every congressperson that's Republican and every Republican they could think of at the federal level. And we're on the Senate floor. We're not allowed to use names on the Senate floor. Like, no one calls me Senator Kirkmeyer on the Senate floor. They call me the good senator from Weld County or from
Sure.
Brighton, right?
Right.
Those are the rules because we're supposed to be treating each other with respect and acting civil. They were going off on the Senate floor, going after Republicans, calling them by name. Gabe Evans, Jeff Crank, Jeff Hurd, Lauren Boebert, just continue. President Trump. And I thought I'd had it. So I went down to the microphone and started going off myself, which probably wasn't a great idea, but I wasn't being rude and calling people by name, but I was telling them, you don't get to do that on the Senate floor. And then I get gavelled down. So then we had a senatorial 5 and had it out. But you know what I'm saying? It's why do they think that's okay? It's not. It is not okay to be disrespectful like that.
Yeah.
And so
I'm glad you said that. A lot of people don't know these things happen.
yeah, so I just think that's part of it. People have lost their manners.
Yeah.
And they're rude and they treat people disrespectfully.
Yeah. Well stated.
Well, we're coming to a close. I'm just going to ask one more closing question. I'm glad you brought up the topic of civility because that's going to definitely be tied into the last question that I have in all this. But I would just say all of what you both have just discussed, I agree with from the State of the Union. But what really bothered me more than any of that is there was a couple of things that the people on the other side of the aisle stood for. The hockey team with the Olympics and other moments where they stood. But, of course, those moments that they didn't stand with the mother there and with some of the other instances, the one that bothered me the most was Trump makes the statement that we need to ban any and all sex change surgeries for minors immediately. They don't stand. Everybody else stands. And then Trump says, these people are crazy. They didn't stand. These people are crazy. And was that maybe a little bit over the top? I recently came across my feed a video of Charlie Kirk talking to an individual who I would say was gender confused. And the way that he just masterfully really just was able to approach this person with love and not hate, not telling this person, hey, you are crazy, but instead saying, hey, I would just really encourage you, before you focus on the outside, focus on the inside. Why do you think that you're feeling this way? And this is Charlie with other people standing and people who are nasty to Charlie, mean to Charlie, because we talked about a lot of mean people. And Charlie is essentially doing the work that we're invited to participate in whenever we accept the call to become Christians. And that is to love on people.
Sure.
And lead people to truth. And that pattern, that's exactly what Jesus is always pointing us to, is to work on the inside before you worry about the outside. And the message on the other side of the aisle is so much outside. You gotta get surgery. You gotta change the outside. And I just loved how beautifully Charlie was able to, and you could feel, and even in just this recording, this person who came up to that microphone and was at least brave enough to have this discussion with Charlie, you could feel the power that was in that moment.
No judgment.
Exactly.
No judgment.
Of just somebody
Yeah.
loving somebody enough to care, to slow down, have the conversation, say, wait a second, don't go too fast down this road. Let's focus on the inside before the outside. And so I definitely wanted to turn this to that note before asking this closing question, because in the State of the Union, that is the one that bothered me the most, because we've got to protect our kids. And unfortunately, there's so many policies in Colorado right now that are just putting our kids at risk, pushing the agendas of wokeness and gender affirming stuff. And there's also, there's just an attack all out on so many different conservative values in the state and so many bills. I mean, we talked about them trying to push the bill to legalize prostitution here in Colorado, an absolute tragedy. It's disgusting that they're trying to push that. And then also the continued war on the Second Amendment. It's seeming very clear that they're trying to eradicate Colorado of anybody who has conservative values by making it almost impossible for us to live in the state. But I still believe in 2 Chronicles 14:7. I believe that's what it is. I still believe that if we can turn from our wicked ways, we repent, we turn to God, I believe that he can heal our land. If we get from the bottom to the top, everybody just realizes we have a problem. And this problem is that we are continuing down this road of wickedness. It's evil. It's wrong. Plain out, straight up. It's just wrong. The way that we treat kids, the policies that they're trying to push for us to be able to legalize prostitution, all these things, that it's just a fight between good and evil. That's the way that I see it. And Barb, we close out every episode in prayer, just so that you know, and we'll invite you to say that prayer if you'd like to. If not, myself or Micah can say the prayer. But the last question that I would say, for the sake of, we've all got to at some point get on the same page in Colorado. And I think it's going to start from the party, hopefully, that is fighting for these same values. And so my question would be this. I think that it's awesome to be confident. I think that it's awesome to say, I'm going to be the next governor of Colorado. I think it's awesome to say, whenever I win. I admire your confidence, and you've said so many things on this podcast that I really appreciate, and I believe that you would serve Colorado incredibly well as governor.
Thank you.
If you win, or if you don't win, because the question remains the same. If you win or if you don't win, will you work with whoever it is that wins on the right side, whether it's from the primary to the general? Will you rally and assemble and let other candidates and other people who have Colorado's best interests in mind, will you work alongside them, whether that's in a gubernatorial capacity or whether that's just in a capacity of helping somebody else who wins the primary? Are you ready to bind together in whatever way that looks like to just push Colorado in the right direction, no matter who that looks like, to lay down arms whenever the primary race especially is over, and if you win the primary, to let some of the other candidates come alongside you and potentially help you in whatever capacity that they can, or vice versa to that. If somebody else wins the primary, I could see you being such a resource for somebody in any capacity, whether that is you being the governor or you helping the governor. So are you willing to practice, so to speak, practice what you just were talking about, that civility, whenever we get through this primary, to help do everything we can to push Colorado in the right direction?
Absolutely.
Easy.
It's yes. Because here's the thing. I'll work with anybody to move our state forward, to bring that opportunity for every that next generation. But even though those of us who are here right now, right, I'll work with whoever I need to work with at any point. And I will give you an example of where I've done it. I ran for Congress in 22. I lost by 0.7%, right? And I was anticipating maybe running again in 24 for it. Didn't really know. And I decided about June that I was not going to do that. And Gabe Evans stepped up. I went out and worked just as hard for him as I worked for myself to make sure that we flipped that seat and he won Congress. Because that's what it takes. And I also worked, because I have this tendency to kind of get ticked off at things. I think we got to go make a change, right? Went out and recruited individuals in my county and in my area to run for office. We ended up flipping 5 seats in Weld County from Democrat to Republican. Because again, enough's enough, right? They shouldn't have been Democrat in the first place. They were. We went and flipped them. 2 House seats, a Senate seat, a congressional seat, and a state board of education seat. And we kept all of our other seats. So it takes discipline, it takes messaging, it takes money, but it takes all of us working together. And we all work together to help get everyone elected. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just Carlos Barone or Scott Bright or Gabe Evans or Dan Woog or Ryan Gonzalez or Yasmin Narvero. It was all of us working together, saying we're going to go do this, we're going to go talk for each other, we're going to go promote each other, and we're going to go do what's right for Weld County and get our county back on track.
I love
and we
that.
did it.
That's
so
awesome.
absolutely. That's what we all need to do. And everyone should be able to make that commitment.
I agree.
Everyone.
Absolutely.
Well stated.
And I'm just going to say this. One of the reasons that Representative Bottoms and others in this race make me very upset is because they talk about how they're protecting children. I've actually been protecting children for the last 30 years or more. When I was a county commissioner, I got really involved in the child welfare services side of things and the funding and making sure that the resources were there for those kids. These are kids that are neglected and abused, right? They deserve all the help we can get. As a member on the Joint Budget Committee, I've made it clear what my priorities are. Not everybody does that, but I have. And it's like, it's education. It is funding Medicaid, because it's extremely important. Those are medically fragile individuals. And it's child welfare services. Those are the things that we have to fund. The other stuff, maybe not so much. But those are the things we have to fund, because we should be doing those things for people which they can't do for themselves. That's what government does.
That's also
Doesn't
what
do
Jesus
those other
does.
things. Exactly. That is exactly right. So, you know, like in the field of education, I carried bills that provided funding. The legislature made a promise back in 2005, 2006 about a level of funding for special education services for kids in our school system. Never kept it. Well, we kept it in 2024, you know, and provided that funding. And that makes a difference. You know, funding the provider rates for, you know, children that have intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's protecting kids. That's saving those kids. It's things of that nature. That's why it makes me so upset. You know, funding child welfare services and protecting those kids, no fault of their own, are in a situation where they're being abused or neglected.
Mm-hmm.
That is saving children.
Yeah.
So that's why it makes me upset when we have somebody who says, oh, I'll let you know about it when I'm governor.
Understandable.
So that's why I get so upset over that, just, you know.
Oh,
But-
rightfully so.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying, because it's a valid point all the way across.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to save children, I want to know. Let's save them.
I agree.
Let's do it.
Let's do it now,
Exactly.
not in a year, not later.
Exactly.
I
And
agree.
handing them a stuffed animal isn't saving them either. So
I understand that as well.
So-
I
just saying. That's why I get upset there. So
I
I'm trying not to get ticked off.
I can
but
fill in the
it
blanks
means
on
a
what
lot.
that statement was there, but
It mean,
Yeah.
you know, this is important to me. And, you know, I've had people say this, and, you know, I'm trying to be as humble as possible, but over the course of my term of being either a county commissioner or serving in the state senate, I've always looked out for those that are less fortunate. That's what I was taught as a child. I mean, I grew up in a pretty poor situation. My grandmother lived with us. My great uncle lived with us. I have 6 siblings and my parents, 11 people around the dinner table. We were all taught that you take care of those who are less fortunate than you. And no matter how unfortunate you are, there's somebody who's always less fortunate. That's your job.
yeah,
That's how I will be as a governor.
I love that. That all sounds absolutely wonderful. Certainly worlds better than what we have in governor's office right now in Colorado. So, Barb, it's been an incredible conversation. Where can
Thank you.
people find you? Where can people learn more information about you, support you on your race for governor?
Kirkmeyer for Colorado.com. It's pretty easy. So it's all spelled out. So KIRKMEYERFOR Colorado.com.
Perfect.
Very good.
Come find out more about me. Would love to talk to you.
Awesome. Okay. Would you like to say a prayer? Would you like me or
If you would like to lead, I would love to
Okay.
be able to join in.
Lord, thank you for this opportunity to be able to sit down and have a conversation. God, we pray for Colorado right now. We pray for all those that are in this state that are struggling. We pray, Lord, that you would let there be a turning to you, Lord, a turning away from wickedness, a turning away from the confusion that continues to be spread from imperfect and fallen humanity. I pray, Lord, for Barb. I pray for her on her race. I pray that you would strengthen her, that you'd protect her, that you'd help her in all that she's doing. Use her in every way she can be used to help those who are less fortunate, to help those who are in need. And God, we pray for this state. We pray for this country, Lord. You see all the corruption. You see all the division. And we know that our only hope is truly in you. I just pray for all those out there that are listening right now. I pray in your name that you would just encourage, that you would lead, and let us learn to follow after you, Lord. We're asking all this in your name, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Man, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Last thing is, if you don't mind to just sign our wall there, then we'll call it.
All right.
Thank you
would love
again.
to.
I carry a gun